Nathan's up first, says, are you selling pay-per-lead? I have a prospect insisting on pay-per-lead, and so far I've avoided that model. He's committed to 100 plus leads per day, up to 100 in South Florida for a service business with 40 technicians, willing to partner or hand off this prospect to someone appropriate. Anonymous says, hey Frankie, I know that you're preaching all about selling the result and not the hammer, but some people I know are just not willing to take the risk it requires to generate the results. I know a few of them and wanted to ask this question on their behalf. If a person is selling booked appointments, then how should he track a meeting was booked into their client's Calendly account, or whether or not the person who booked the meeting showed up or not? Anonymous says, does anyone have suggestions for advertising and offer creation groups on Facebook that are well suited for advanced marketers only? What is up, everybody? Everybody in the house getting tipsy. Excited to see you guys all again for another round of awesome agency growth. I want to first say, by the way, that a very, very heartfelt thank you to a lot of you guys. You know who you are. For those of you guys who didn't read my email, we had a situation where Ilka got pickpocketed with a bunch of my cards and stuff like that. And so I've had zero access to any of our own money, and it's been complicated because I bank in Canada and live in Mexico. And so it's not as simple as like my bank's like, hey, just come in and we'll give you a replacement. I'm like, oh, I would need 2 plane rides to get there, and I would need my cards to be able to fucking pay for the plane ride. So, we obviously had to cancel them and stuff like that. But it's been, I ended up having a flash sale, and so many of you guys have like contributed in ways. I'm like totally awesome and always appreciate when you guys buy my shit, because I think it's awesome. I'm obviously a little biased on the subject, but it's extra awesome when you guys, a couple of you guys did like, some extra stuff. Shout out to Lisa and John and Matt for you guys just to contribute, and that like is kind of fucking mind-blowing to me. So like the fact that you guys are so awesome warms my old man Grinch heart. I can't say it enough. You guys are the coolest, and I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart, and I just want to say thank you all. I really, really appreciate you. So anyways, let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Nathan's up first, says, are you selling pay-per-lead? I have a prospect insisting on pay-per-lead, and so far I've avoided that model. He's committed to 100 plus leads per day, up to 100 in South Florida for a service business with 40 technicians, willing to partner or hand off this prospect to someone appropriate. So, Nathan, I've probably dabbled and done in some form or another all of the different agency models that I've ever heard of. And a lot of them I did before even they were a thing, including pay-per-lead, by the way. Pay-per-lead is actually an awesome business model, and there is a big but. And the but, I like big butts and I cannot lie. My little girls love that song, by the way. I like big butts and I cannot lie. My anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, son. So the big but is you have to choose the clients carefully. Pay-per-lead sounds cool on the surface because it allows you to easily sell clients, put all the risk on you, and you'll be able to go way beyond the typical $1,000 to $3,000 a month retainer that most people get for services. Like we have people in our mastermind, they have $20,000, $30,000 a month per client with pay-per-lead, so it absolutely can be done. Here are a couple of things that I would look for, okay? Just so you know, when you're going with pay-per-lead, almost always if it's the client's idea, it's a bad idea. I wouldn't say 100 times out of 100, but 95 times out of 100. And the reason when it's the client's idea is because they have broken sales processes, they have broken lead follow-up processes, and so they want to put all the risk on you. I see this a lot. It's like when agency owners who don't have any sales say, I want to have a commission-only closer. That sounds cool because it's like no risk, but like a real closer doesn't want to come work for somebody who doesn't have a proven offer. They want something they can amplify, not something they have to build from the ground up. If they have to build it from the ground up, they might as well just do their own fucking thing. So it's a bad idea if the client suggests it to you. It's almost always a good idea if you suggest it to them. Now, what you're looking for typically in a client is that they actually spend money on ads and therefore like have proven to invest in those things. And then thirdly, that they actually have a team of people that they pay. And I'll tell you why these two things indicate behaviors that are very, very important for pay per lead. They're actually equally important in retainer, but they become more obvious in pay per lead because you'll get paid zero if it doesn't work. The first thing is, if they're not used to spending money and then you're trying to convince them to pay for leads, they're going to fight you on it. The second thing is, if usually, like in almost every industry, solo operators make for bad clients, and the biggest reason why is because they don't have a history of paying other people to solve problems, right? Either they don't have the income level yet to achieve it, or they just don't believe in it, right? And so either of those are usually bad scenarios. Either they're broke or they don't believe in hiring people. So you want somebody who continually spends money and continually pays people to solve problems for them. Those are the two behaviors we're looking for. And then even still, before I would commit long-term to a pay-per-lead client, I would run a small test, whether that's 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, maybe 90 days max, depending on the client. But I wouldn't like run ads for them and do it forever until they've proven that they pay you on time, that they can actually close the leads, that it is a harmonious relationship and works for the long haul. But having said that, if you know how to choose those clients carefully, like I said, you can do $20,000, $30,000 a month, probably a whole lot more than that. I'm just saying, I know, folks in our world doing 20, 30K a month with single clients. And then you only need like 3-4 of them to hit $1 million a year. That's a way easier business, and you're just multiplying what's working. So those are my thoughts on that. Is be very, very careful and selective with who you choose pay per lead. But having said that, it's a great model. It works. And for those of you guys who are interested, friend of ours, Dan Wardrobe, has a group dedicated just to pay per leads. So you might want to check out his group if you're interested in doing that stuff and how to set up all the go high level and the tech setup and all those goodies. So tell him I sent you. Anonymous. We got quite a few anonymous posts. Anytime you guys post anonymously, like I'm just imagining that you didn't have pants on that day. Kind of like when you have a Zoom and you don't put on the camera, you're on a Zoom meeting, no camera, like you got to be pantsless. That's the only way to explain it. Anonymous says, hey Frankie, I know that you're preaching all about selling the result and not the hammer, but some people I know are just not willing to take the risk it requires to generate the results. I know a few of them and wanted to ask this question on their behalf. If a person is selling booked appointments, then how should he track a meeting was booked into their client's Calendly account, or whether or not the person who booked the meeting showed up or not? So Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous, those are two separate questions. The first is selling the result, not the hammer. And then you mentioned the risk. So the way I handle risk, and this is actually like almost mind-numbingly simple, is when I'm in a new industry and I don't have proof and I don't have case studies and I don't have like listen to all these people, then I put the risk on me, and I usually do it very simple. Like, let me get you the result, pay me second, and you'll be amazed at how all of a sudden it's not a problem for anybody. And obviously you got to choose those clients carefully because you have to be able to actually engineer a result for them. If I've been around for a while and I have like a whole roster full of client results where I have like case studies and testimonies and people who sing your praises, I point to the proof over and over again, and I ask other people to take the risk because, I've demonstrated that I can do those things. So having said that, like, clients are always in it for the result and never in it for the process. Like, nobody buys SEO because they just love backlinks and they love AI generated content and they love responding to reviews on their Google listing. They want it to rank and they want to get phone calls and they want to get business, right? So we're always selling results. So like, I don't want you to think that the biggest reason people would be resistant to it, and this is an important thing to understand, is that 80% of the potential clients in every industry are bad fits for what we do. And I don't think enough people truly understand that. So what I mean is, let's just pick a random niche, and this could be true in any of them. Doesn't matter if you picked e-commerce or dentists or HVAC or plumbers or online coaches. Doesn't matter. But let's roll with dentists. There's an assumption that if you just get a dentist as a client, like you're winning at life. And I'm here to tell you that if you picked a random sampling of 100 dentists, 80 of them would make for bad clients. And there's multiple reasons, but the biggest two are they don't spend money on advertising, they don't believe in that, they're not trying to grow, And the second reason is they don't believe in hiring people to solve problems. And like those are totally okay, but they make for bad fits for what we do if they don't believe in spending money to grow and paying people to solve problems like those. And so if there's 100 dentists, like 80-20 tells you 20% of those dentists are spending all the fucking money on advertising. And if you go 80-20 of the 80-20, tells you like 4 of those dentists are probably outspending the other 96 combined. That's just how it works. And they're spending more to grow. So much of this is client selection. When you get resistance and clients give you ideas, like so much of it is actually just about, like I said, client selection. I'll give you an example of this. A mentor of mine lives in a small town in Arkansas, and there was a little restaurant owner, and he asked him what he does, and he said, I do marketing and consulting and things like that. And he said, how much would it cost me to like get a year of your consulting? And he said, $50,000 is my starting rate. And the guy laughed at him and said, you're fucking insane. I would never pay you $50,000. Now, there's a tendency when you're the person receiving that kind of response to take it personally and think like, well, my stuff is worth $50,000. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. But in actuality, that client is just a bad fit, right? Like they're not trying to grow. They're not trying to spend money. They just have a little tiny restaurant. They're a single location operator. They're not trying to grow past that. So for them, it's absolutely fucking true that it's not worth $50,000. This is an important asterisk to understand, is it's worth that for the right person. This is why, by the way, on the Ultimate Guide to Cold Outreach, which a lot of you guys requested, if you're interested, just send me a message and I'll send you a free copy of it. It's a 32-page little guide I wrote. This is why I wrote step 1 of outreach advertising doesn't matter is choosing the right fucking people to begin with. And so many people get this wrong. So if you're getting people saying like, oh, I don't want to take risk and I don't want to get results, like you're probably just talking to the wrong fucking people. And like 80% of dentists are a bad fit. 80% of e-commerce people are a bad fit. 80%, like, so it's about hyper focusing on the 20% who are and not trying to sell anybody and everybody. This is a bad idea that people get. Like, I'm trying to get dentists, so I'm just going to blast every fucking dentist in existence. And that's how you lose, because 4 out of 5 people you talk to, like, will just not be a good fit for that. Now, the second thing is, the booked appointments you mentioned. Now, a booked appointment is a type of result, but I don't want you to think it's the only type of result. There are lots of types of results that are meaningful to clients. A lead, a phone call, a booked appointment can be a specific type of person. This is usually the one they actually value the most, is not just an appointment, but like a dentist, like if you can get a high-end cosmetic procedure in the door, that's a more valuable appointment than somebody spending $99 for an Invisalign kind of thing that they can get at any dental office. So as far as how to track it, I'll tell you the thing that we've started to move towards, and this is not necessarily the answer for everybody, but for those of you guys who are interested, we have a Go High level set up for this. Message me. Is just taking it out of the client's hands entirely. Like the old way of doing it is you generate a booked appointment, you send it to their calendar invites them, and then you're waiting for the client to notify you what happened. I think it is a much better process to set it up on your own calendar that goes into the clients automatically, like connect that to their calendar and book the appointments for them. Because what happens is a lot of times when people are on a website, if they have to call and schedule an appointment, that's actually a fucking obstacle to getting the appointment. So if you're doing this for a dentist, just set it up so the person can self-select a time, come in, they get notifications, they get reminders automatically. You can do this super easy with Go High Level. I call it our phoneless booking system. And we've had a few people kind of battle testing this behind the scenes, but that to me is a much smarter way of doing it. And then you don't have to ask anybody what the numbers are because they're in your hands. Now, as far as like show up rates and things like that, there are things you can do to control that people show up, like more notifications, more reminders, personalized voicemails, things like that. But I usually just average it out. Like, like if they get 10 appointments and 8 of them show, you just average the cost of those 8 into 10. And then you just say it's $30 for appointment or $100 or whatever it is in your industry. But having said that, like, this is a good question. I like it. Everybody wants results. Like, nobody wants the thing. So it doesn't really matter. It sounds like what you actually have in this case is an issue of like just talking to the wrong fucking people. And I see this often. And if you don't understand that, like, what ends up happening is you try to convince people to invest in growing themselves who don't spend money to invest in growing themselves, and then you feel like you're just banging your head against the wall. For me, it used to sound like, well, we've grown 30 years with word of mouth. Why should we invest in your Facebook ads, doohickey? And it's like, actually, if you grown 30 years with word of mouth. Just keep doing that, right? Like, I'm only here for people who like want to exponentially expand, right? Like, I'm not here for people who are just content with whatever they got. Like, my marketing stuff doesn't work if you're just content with what you got, right? So I hope that's helpful to you, and I hope that clears the mud a little bit. Another anonymous. Man, you guys are all just, nobody likes wearing pants on the internet. Unfortunately, I got some shorts on. Anonymous says, does anyone have suggestions for advertising and offer creation groups on Facebook that are well suited for advanced marketers only? I'm going to recommend a group by my mentor called $1 Million Offer Mojo is the name of the group. My mentor is his name is Travis Sago. I've got quite a few mentors these days, but he's one of the OGs and teaches how to do phoneless sales. And a big secret of doing phoneless sales is offer. You want the offer to do the heavy lifting, not your sales process. This is counter to how everybody else does it. Obviously, Alex Hormozi kind of like really made that front and center for a lot of people, but that's always been true, is everybody wants copywriting and wordsmithing instead of like just make the offer easier. I'll give you an example. Friend of a friend, I don't know this person personally, but they were trying to sell pizza stones. It was an e-commerce store that sold like pizza related things, and they had a pizza stone, and it's kind of expensive to ship because it's really heavy, and they were having a hard time selling it because it was heavy and the shipping costs were so high. And so they kept trying to get people to buy my damn fucking pizza stone. And so they did what most people try, is they tried to make the copy better. So it became sizzling copy, and like, hey, the crispiest pizza, and they try and say it nice. What ended up helping it sell is they reached out to an influencer and they said, hey, everybody's buying pizza from us is interested in pizza recipes. Do you think we could include 10 of your pizza recipes, and we'll give you full credit and link to your YouTube channel and all that inside everything? So they created a guide, an info product that had 10 pizza channels or 10 pizza recipes, and then they reached out to another place that offered Caputo flour, Caputi flour, I don't know what it's called, but it's the Italian, like, real authentic pizza flour for making like a wood fire pizza. And they reached out to them and said, if we introduce our buyers to you, could they have some kind of special on your flour? And they said, absolutely, we'll offer a 50% coupon for first time buyers. And that allowed them to save $50 on a giant bag of Italian flour. So now, instead of a pizza stone, they get a pizza stone plus recipes plus like a super awesome smoking deal on the flour. That is a better offer, right? And then you don't need as much wordsmithing to make it sound better. So that is the real secret of this business, is like, make your offers so so almost like, in a way, you should feel like you're giving shit away, where it's like you feel like almost like, I'm not saying people are stealing from you, but you feel like everybody who does business with you is coming out ahead. And then you'll find that like copy is easy to write when your offers are like super awesome. Ali, I didn't mention a book, but I mentioned a Facebook community called $1 Million Offer Mojo. To be honest, the best offer groups I'm part of are private paid communities, but I think that's the best open group for like advanced kind of offer making. So I hope that's helpful. This person says, another anonymous, man, I wonder if this is all the same person, or you guys just like all like hiding your real identities. I am a boutique agency, 7 figures with a small crew. We are looking into acquisition options. I'm posting to get your thoughts on a proper valuation, 3 times EBITDA. Does churn or years in business play a factor? So typically, just so you know, yeah, of course, Ali, I'll share the link. After I'm finished the recording, I'll reply to your comment and drop the link for you for sure. As far as the what is an agency worth? Typically, just so you know, and this is true not just of agencies, but of service businesses in general, like high ticket service businesses for ours, is you're gonna get 2 to 3 times whatever your gross revenue is. So if you're taking in $1 million a year, and I know that's not your profit margin, but typically the agency is going to be worth about 2 to 3 million at that range. Now, a couple of factors that affect it are, number one, you hinted at it, churn. How long you keeping people? That's huge, right? Because if there's constant turnover and they have to constantly like find new people, it's going to be less valuable, not more. Obviously, the better you are keeping people, there's that. Second thing that really factors in is kind of like the industry you're in, because somebody who's going to be acquiring you is going to be acquiring you for a strategic reason. Like, let's say, for example, I'm making an overly simple example. This is not an agency example. But let's say you own a pizza chain and there is a manufacturer of mozzarella. Well, if you make pizzas and make like billions of them every day, maybe not billions, but you make, thousands of them or tens of thousands of pizzas every day across your chain, it's going to be really valuable to acquire that mozzarella company more so than just a random company buying mozzarella. Why? Because it means you can get your supply costs down and all of those things. So you may acquire a related company. So almost always when you get acquired, it's like there's an overlap in terms of like just natural fit with who the buyer is, and that's a determining factor as well. And then the third piece that I see that kind of plays into it a lot is how systematized and organized. In other words, like how easily could your agency run without you? If it depends a lot on you and there's not a lot of systems and processes, it's going to be worth way less money than if you say like, hey, I could walk away for a month and this thing would still be running. You want to think about it as like a franchise. And then the last piece is like how organized your books are, like in terms of like the financials. Is it easy to find? And if you're interested, by the way, in actually selling, send me a message, any of you guys. The person you want to talk to is Alex Neem, who is a broker who's been selling agencies for years and years and years and has access to a lot of hedge funds and specialty buyers and Silicon Valley kind of people who can potentially acquire you, even if your agency isn't all tip-top and perfect. But if you're interested, send me a message and I'll make an intro for you to Alex, because he is the guy to talk to who just like he's got buyers all ready to go. A lot of brokers, by the way, this is true in real estate and selling businesses. They just post the listing on a website and wait for people to contact them. Alex is a way more proactive, like actually has a Rolodex of buyers, has potential people he can show your deal to today, which is why I recommend him, knows the process, knows how to bridge the gap, knows what the buyer's looking for, knows what the seller's for, and knows how to make the paperwork work and all of that. The worst part of the process, by the way, will be in going through the financials and basically proving who you say you are. But if you're willing to go through that, you can absolutely get like a 3x multiple. Man, Herman says, okay, I'm still new and looking at Frankie's videos, but what I'm getting at is this model is just selling SEO, but delivering it as a smaller package. Sort of, Herman. So I don't believe that there is a single model that everybody should follow. And this is probably one of the things that makes me, as a quote-unquote guru or micro-influencer, whatever the fuck you want to call me in this space, one of the harder people to follow, because I know it's so easy for everyone just to follow this step-by-step system, but I don't believe that that's what entrepreneurship really is. And I think it actually does people a disservice because it creates short-term results and long-term failures. Example of this is Ty Lopez came up with a social media course, and it was like, here's the outreach script we're using to get roofers, and this is what we're selling them. And what happened is he ended up selling like 60,000 copies of this course, and everybody else copied the same outreach script. So now there's thousands and thousands of people sending the exact same outreach script to roofers, and when you see the same copy and paste message, it's just fucking noise and you ignore it. So probably the first few people who sent that email got results with it, but long term, everybody who copied that system verbatim fucked themselves. And so I'm a big believer in principles and then using those principles to create tactics. So there's kind of like 3 levels of this. There are principles, there are strategies, and tactics. And tactics are the things that especially beginners gravitate to the most. It's the most exciting, and they're actually the least fucking valuable thing in the whole thing. So here's an example of this, okay? There's a Facebook ad marketer named Keith Krantz, and he's a very smart, successful Facebook ads guy. And there was like a month period, I remember on my Facebook newsfeed, he started running ads that were video-based ads, and he would go like this, and then the text would say, "Stop scrolling!" And you would stop scrolling, be like, okay, like you give the ad a few seconds. It's in marketing what's known as a pattern or pattern interrupt, right? So like he shakes his hand. What ended up happening is after like a month, there were like 500 other marketers doing the handshake. Woo, that's a tactic, okay? But if you understand the principle is you have to do something to get people's attention, right? If you understand that principle, I can come up with endless strategies and tactics to fucking do that, right? Like I can go, here's a fish. I can go, here's a ring. I can turn my video upside down. I can make blue flashes. I can show a wrestler from a kid. Like I could come up with 1,000 fucking variations, and so could you if you understand the principle. And so I'm a big believer in follow the principles that never change. And there are a few of them I believe that will make your agency life easier. One of those is the thing you mentioned, which is if you're starting out, don't offer people big, marriagey, intense packages. Offer them smaller but meaningful things where they can sort of try your stuff out and feel you out in a way that automatically leads into bigger stuff. And this is how relationships work in the real world, by the way, right? If you meet a pretty girl on the street or a man you're interested or whatever the fuck you're interested, I know Ali's interested in some questionable things. But if you're interested in that, like you don't like walk up to a stranger and say like, oh, you're so amazing, I want to marry you, let's get fucking married right now, let's do it, let's live in the suburb, have 2.2 kids. Like, no, you say, hey, let's go for a first date. So that's like a principle, like it's not going to change, like, and that's just reducing the risk of like trying each other out in a working relationship. So nothing about that has changed, right? So that's one of the principles. I'll tell you another principle that will make your life easier. The closer you work to the customer list, the more you'll be able to show sales, the faster it will work, the longer it will work for, and the less headaches and the less competition. So does that mean everybody has to do it? Am I against generating cold traffic? Of course not. Like, we generate shit tons of cold traffic. Most of you guys are here as cold traffic, right? You started as cold traffic. But I'm a bigger believer in like nurture buyers if you want to make your life easier, right? Like, work with people you can have long-term relationships. Another principle I'm big on is prospecting one-to-many instead of one-to-one. What most people do is they work a lot of one-to-one, cold outreach, knocking on doors, things like that. I'm a bigger believer in like go with people who have audiences and share valuable stuff with their audience in a way where it leads the breadcrumb trail back to you, right? Like, we get published in magazines and things like that. We're on some of the industry association websites. I just got an email this morning about some videos that are going live in the next day or two, and that allows me to be in front of 10,000 people in an industry that I'm brand new in, way easier than trying to message those 10,000 people one at a time. So having said that, no, there is no like, this is the one model, follow it. And I think anybody who tells you like, this is the one model, and if you deviate from the Frankie Finn system, you'll be a fucking loser for life. Anybody who talks like that, you should be worried, because you have to do what's right for you. And so like the first thing I say is like, if you're going to pick an industry, it helps if you actually like the people and you have something in common with them. And most of you guys, by the way, could be successful in almost any fucking industry, but you're not going to like them all equally, and you're not going to relate to all of them equally, right? So that's a different answer for everybody. I might tell everybody, like, pick an industry and focus on it, and yet which industry should you focus on is a different answer for everybody, right? So that's why I say when it's like, it's about principles that never change. But having said that, like, the most important person that your business has to work for is you, not even your clients, even before it works for your clients. Because I'll tell you, I built a business. My first business, just so you guys know, was a white label agency, and we mostly did plastic surgery SEO. We did a couple other kinds of doctors. We had some dermatologists, and we had some med spas, but we had probably about 100 plastic surgeons as clients, and probably about 20, 30 more in different industries. It kind of, it fluctuates. It's not like we had some churn in there, so it wasn't always like the same number every month. I hated that business. I hated everything about the business. I hated the work. I hated the clients. I hated talking to them. I hated reports. I hated actually delivering on it. I did like my employees, if that counts for anything, because they took the miserable work away from me. And yeah, I had financial success, but I was miserable fucking doing it. And so that's my way of saying the most important person is like, build a business that works for you. And one of the secrets to this is just answering the question, what do I feel like I could do forever? Or who do I feel like I could hang out with forever? And if you answer that question, you'll build a better business than trying to copy someone's tactic or model. Because here's the truth that nobody will fucking say, that like everybody wants to say, like, just do the Frankie Finn system, you'll be an overnight fucking millionaire and all that. But this is the truth, is that you have to innovate a little bit. That doesn't mean you have to like launch rockets into outer space, but you have to come up with little tweaks and little changes. And if you don't like the people, and you don't like the business, and you don't like the industry, you're probably not going to go that little extra mile and figure shit out. But I'll tell you, like, I get like, part of the reason I do this with you guys, I fucking love you guys, for real. Like, I get messages at 10 at night as my kids are asleep, and I never think, oh fuck, another one's messaging me. I think like, oh, who's this cool person? I'll click on your profile and read some of your posts and realize like I vibe with you, like you guys are cool. Right? And that's how you want to feel about your business, is like where it's fun to do and you feel like you could do it forever and you're like, I can't believe I get paid for this shit. So having said that, no, there is no one model, and you should run if everybody tells you this is the one model. Having said that, there may be a specific model that works for you. Pay-per lead may work for you, revenue share, old-fashioned retainer, SEO, web design. There's lots of cool models. I'm not against any of them. I'm saying pick the one that works for you with the people you like working. Combine those things. You'll have a lot more long-term success and short-term success too, because when you like people, man, like it's way easier to help them. So it's a little bit of rant, but I hope that's useful to you. Demetrius says, I know that when you are looking for symptoms, you ask the question, what's the most difficult part about being a plumber? And that will give you the symptoms the plumber has experienced. If you want to go a step further and talk to plumbers' clients, how would you phrase the question as what's the most difficult thing about working with a plumber? So for those of you guys who are not familiar, Demetrius' question is based on a training that I did called the Unfair Sales Advantage. And it's, if you got 20 minutes, it's worth watching. And the idea of the Unfair Sales Advantage is, rather than trying to guess what clients want or what they would pay for or what's interesting and valuable to them, you just listen into conversations. Use these magic thing called ears. So few marketers use it. It's a skill called active listening that all the top pros do. And you just see what they're stuck on and what their challenges are and what their difficulties are. And you position your stuff around solving those problems. So if you're trying to work with dentists are already talking to other dentists. Like, you just have to go to those communities and listen. And I usually use Reddit and Quora, because not only are those discussions happening, but they're public and they upvote all the answers, making it very easy to find symptoms and problems that a lot of dentists have or a lot of e-commerce stores have and things like that. So that's the gist of that training. Check it out if you guys have time. Now, what Demetrius is asking is, how do you go a level deeper? Is, say you're working with plumbers. Well, their clients have potential issues with hiring a plumber. And this is a little bit different because they haven't actually worked with a plumber yet. So it would be like kind of what you would want to know is like, you know, before hiring a plumber, what should I look for? And these are the things that they're going to be afraid of. Like, I'm going to be overcharged. They're not going to show up on time. The guy's going to smell like shit. Believe it or not, that's a real thing, is they're worried the plumber is going to come over and like have a big smelly butt crack and like be covered in corn covered shit from the last place and want to, nice to meet you, shake your hand like, I don't want to touch you, like you've been cleaning shit all day, right? So it's the same thing. It's like the same skill, just applied a different way, is like listen into the conversations and see what people are afraid of when hiring a plumber. Like, hey, I just had a plumbing emergency. Like, who should I call? What should I do? And you just listen to those conversations. You'll be amazed. People will tell you exactly what to sell them. Josh Nelson is really good at this. For those of you guys who followed our man Josh, I know he was talking about in his plumbing and HVAC agency, their landing pages are catered to all those things. So one of the things people are worried about is like, are you going to show up on time? So they have like something like a 45-minute or an hour guarantee. We'll be at your house within 45 minutes. And they have things like that. All guaranteed, everything written in, or all proposals in writing. No hidden fees, no extras, things like that. Why? Because they're afraid of being overcharged, right? So like we're playing into like, you just want to know what people are afraid of in that process, and then how can you like offer them something or position it in such a way or make a guarantee so that like, you know, they don't have to worry about those things. So that's how you take that a level deeper and do that for your clients. But it's really just like, it's just a form of active listening. That's all it is. I know it sounds crazy, but you would be amazed at how many marketers think step one is invent my shit and then figure out how to try and sell it. And step one is to listen to your market and see where the problems, challenges, hopes, fears are, those kind of things, and then figure out how you can be useful to those things. Like, part of the reason, you know, I came up with the idea of the $100 bill is because when I listen to like a lot of attorneys, and this is true in any industry, they're like, I don't want more clients. I have too many clients already. What I want are the big clients, because if I get a lot of big clients, I can actually work less, right? Like, one big client may be worth like 20 small ones, and it's more work individually than one-to-one, but one big client is way less work than 20 small clients, and I make the same amount of money, and I can actually go home at the end of the day and see my family. So it's like, how can I get them one big client is a more valuable thing. But that started with these, right? Like, marketers don't use these enough. They come up with shit and then try and force it on people. And what you actually want to do is like always have a feedback loop where you can actually hear people, their hopes, dreams, desires, what they tried, what they want. So hope that's helpful. Ben says, anyone know any good books, resources on crafting ad copy or creative. Testing ads sometimes feels like guesswork. I want to know the science and methodology behind what makes an ad successful. Thanks, dudes. Well, just so you know, Ben, I had a conversation at Traffic and Conversion, like, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago with Ryan Dice. He was off to the corner of the room. He had just finished doing a speech. Nobody saw him there, so we had a nice little, like, just 10-minute private conversation. And he was telling me that digital marketer runs Facebook ad tests 300 at a time. Count those, 300, right? Like, that's how many tests they're running at a time. And they said that they were wrong 293 times. So only 7 out of their different campaigns and creatives they test work. So that's a way of saying that, like, there is no one way where you're going to always bat 1,000. What you want to learn to do with making ads work and offers and things like that is a combination of a couple of skills. One of those is just managing risk. And I'll tell you, like, I've done this for years with Facebook ads, and feel free to borrow this, is I run a $50 test ad. Every time I have like a new ad, I put $50 behind it. And when it works, like, I might spend $500,000 on that ad if it works. But if it doesn't work, I'm only out $50, right? Like, that's the worst case scenario. And so, like, this is kind of like my magic formula. It's like $50 if I'm wrong, like, might be $500,000 in sales if I'm right. So you want to, like, manage your risk. This is called asymmetric risk. And the idea is, if I'm wrong, I want to be wrong a little bit. When I'm right, I want to be right a lot of it. No matter how good you are, you're going to swing and miss. So, like, part of the skill is managing risk. Now, the second skill is the one I just answered in the last question, is these. If you want to make good ads and good offers, like, it's amazing, like, how much easier it is if you just fucking listen to the people you're trying to sell shit to. I see this all the time because I'm part of a lot of Facebook ads and Google ads. And whenever an ad isn't fucking working, people always suggest a technical fix. Have you tried changing the campaign setting to this and that? And they forget the most obvious fucking thing in the world, which is there is another human on the other side of that ad. Like, what does that person want, right? Like, figuring that out. Third skill that really helps is offer making. The more you can make your shit easy to say yes to, if you combine those things of, like, actually listening to people and having valuable offers and intelligently testing your budget, you can't fucking lose with paid ads. That doesn't mean every individual ad will work. In fact, you'll probably have lots of losers in there, but overall the process will work and it'll work predictably. And then the other thing that helps is math-wise, if you're going to run paid ads and you want to make them work long-term, it helps to have, like, a high-ticket thing, right? Like, it's a lot. I found this when we were selling, like, $80,000 motorcycle cases. I could spend $10,000 and get my client just one client, and they were happy with me because they still 8x their money. But if you got, like, a little e-commerce trinket for $19.99 plus $7.99 shipping, the minute you spent like $10, like, there's no more profit to be had. So it helps to have high margin stuff. If not in the front end, in the back end, it'll make your ads more successful. But usually, by the way, if I'm going to make this process simpler, if you're missing with paid ads and it feels like guesswork, it's because you're not fucking listening to the market first. Almost all of the best ads come from the audience itself. A lot of times people have told me in the agency space, they're like, man, you write really good copy. Like, I feel like you're in my head. Well, one, I am an agency owner, so, like, I'm not just, like, metaphorically in your head. I'm like, shit, I live this stuff too, right? But secondly, like, I spend a lot of time, like, listening to you guys. Like, when you guys don't know I'm listening, like, I'm in the background reading comments and questions. And so a lot of my things are just feeding back to you the thing I already heard. Like, I showed people this as an example. But I remember reading for, like, months and months, people said, like, Facebook ad account was banned, and I got banned without warning. And so I created an offer that was a workshop of how to go get clients with direct mail as an alternative to people who've been, like, banned from Facebook ads, because the mailman ain't gonna ban you and lets you send shit, and you can still get clients at the same price you're getting them at Facebook ads. And obviously it worked really well, but that came from the audience of just seeing, like, hundreds of people saying my Facebook ad account was banned, right? When you see the same thing over and over and over and over, like, alarm bells should be going off. Like, this is an unmet need in the marketplace. So almost always if you're struggling to make your paid ads click, you're skipping that step. So I hope that's helpful and helps you overcome it. Like, don't listen to marketers and groups who tell you change the campaign setting, and, like, it's almost never that. It's the human on the other side that, like, you fail to say something meaningful to them and where they're specifically at in their life. It almost always, you're just hitting on the wrong problem that they don't want to solve. So like find a different problem that they do want to solve, and that comes from just listening to them talking about the same damn problem. And communities are great for this, by the way. Just join a couple of Facebook groups. You can join them for dentists, e-commerce, lawyers, doctors, plumbers, doesn't matter. Just listen. They'll talk about the same shit. Like I'm in the water damage ones now as part of our 90-day challenge. And they're always bitching about like insurance companies not paying me, stuff like that. And, like just because of that, like I already feel like I have a leg up. So I hope that's helpful. Demetrius again says, I'm updating my Facebook bio. I see so many people use the I help niche get result without blank. I feel like whenever I see that kind of thing, I tune it out because it automatically feels cringy and like a marketer. I'm not sure if other people feel that same way, but maybe it's because I see it all the time, and my ideal client does not see it all the time, so maybe it's a beacon of hope for them. I don't know. Frankie, what's the best way you've seen this used? By the way, this is what I came up with in the first place. Niche gained 10 to 20 monthly leads with impact method, their website, and strategic ads. Is it good, cringy, or should I do something else? Firstly, I see this in almost every industry, Demetrius. Dan Kennedy calls it being Amish. And the idea is like, if you think about Amish people, like they build the way they've always done it. And they all just kind of like use the same methodology to build a house. Even though like if you go like 5 minutes up the road, they have technology, right? Like they use machines and backhoes and cranes, and obviously I'm not a builder, so I'm kind of like bullshitting a little bit here, but you get the idea. Like they use technology, and yet the Amish don't. In almost every industry you go into, people unconsciously copy each other. So when I first joined the legal industry, I would see all these personal injury ads, and they all say, I'm experienced, I'll fight hard, we're aggressive, call now, no fee unless we win. And like, I could swap out 200 fucking lawyer websites, and they all said the same. Now, they all got this idea from each other, kind of unconsciously. Like, it's not like they wake up and say, I want to copy someone else. But they think that someone else has got it more and better figured out than they do, so they copy them. So this is my way of saying, don't fucking do that, right? Give yourself permission just to be you and do you. If that feels cringy to you, why would you write a cringy profile? Like, the first person your business has to work for is you. What I do like about the I help niche to get blah, 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 is that it's clear who it's for. If I look at most agency offers, the biggest missing piece is actually like, I can't even tell who it's for. So just saying like dentist, colon, and then whatever you want to say right after it, or HVAC, or e-commerce, or whatever, right? Like whatever industry you're after, just online coaches, business coaches, life coaches, whatever, right? Like being clear about who it's for, that alone will make it better. But this is how I like to do it. I'm not saying this is the only way, but I like to think of my digital content as assets, and I like my assets to do the heavy lifting. I don't want to have to talk to everybody individually until they're like seriously considering like, working together. So for me, what I like to do is drive them to training. I got a book, I got a community, I've got like lots of shit out there, right? Like there's interviews I've done. So I just direct people to those things, and I found that's a lot better. And then that can be done as a give, like, hey, we got a free training, go check it out. And usually I find if people watch your stuff and dig it, they'll they'll take a couple of steps towards you. So that's my way of saying, like, just give yourself permission to be you. I had there's a Facebook Messenger thing where you can share a thought, and I probably had like, I don't know, 6 replies in the last like couple of weeks, and the two that got the most replies was one where it said, I like big butts and I cannot lie, and the other one said, currently accepting boob pics. And I had a lot of male friends come and troll me with that one. I got like male friends to send me a gratuitous nipple shot. Ilka's shaking her booty over there, which is twerking, which I approve of. But like, if you read any marketing book, pretty sure they don't tell you to like write that you like big butts. And, what was the other shenanigan? I just lost my train of thought as I saw some booty shaking. Oh, accepting boob pics, right? So I'm just being funny, but I'm just being me, right? Like I don't know how to not be me. And so that's my way of saying, like, don't just copy other people's shit. It's probably not even working that well half the time anyway. Like, do you, do your style, be who you want to be, and like don't get caught up in trying to fucking copy everyone else. They probably don't know what the fuck they're doing anyway. I thought there was a question in here, by the way, about like favorite copywriting book, but maybe not. Okay, sorry. We're coming back. Next question. Alexander says, does anyone have experience with Facebook ads for long customer journeys / high ticket products and services? My client has a 25% no-show rate on average, but we're seeing a 50% no-show rate from my leads. I've been running ads, getting people in for a free consultation and giving them $1,000 off the procedure if they decide to follow through, so the offer isn't the problem. What would you do to attempt to solve the no-show issue? So I've kind of talked about this beforehand, Alexander, and the idea is a lot of marketers tend to think of customer acquisition as a binary journey, meaning like make an offer, buy and not buy. And I'm not saying there isn't some truth to that, because like sometimes, but I found a better metaphor that I like to think about it as is a garden. So what I mean by that is, if you think about like trying to grow a garden, which, by the way, I actually like have started growing a garden the last 2 years. We've been here in Mexico, so like I grew tomatoes and I got to like 20 or so fruit trees, and we grew cucumbers, and there were a lot of failed experiments along that way. But you basically, if you're a gardener, this is what you do: you put the seed in the ground, hopefully at the right time, and you water it, and the next day you water it. And the next day you water it, and then the next day you water it, and then, hey, there's a weed, pick the weed, and then you water it. And for the most part, like, you just do the same shit over and over. And what happens is, sure enough, if you water it over time, what you'll find is some plants, they're like crazy fast. You're like, holy shit, like just a week ago, you're just this little thing, and now you're this giant thing, and you got fruit on you. And some of those things take 2 months. And some of those things take 2 years. I got pineapples. I never had pineapples in my life before. It takes 2 years to fucking grow a pineapple. Who knew? But my job is still the same, is to take, and so if you look at watering as a metaphor for nurturing leads, this is the job. And what happens is, the bigger and more high ticket service it is, the longer that journey becomes. So the ultimate example for most people is real estate. So this is an interesting fact, by the way. The average person takes 6 months from start to finish, from the time they first start considering it to actually buying a house. By the way, buying a car is 6 weeks. Average person takes 6 weeks from the time they first consider buying a car, and they visit a dealership 3 times. So what a lot of marketers think is, like, when they, like, you see this with real estate agents, they advertise and they go, hey, like, I'm a real estate agent. Hire fucking Frankie Finn's Real Estate Remax. Here, I got a picture next to a balloon. Call me. And what they don't do is enough watering of those leads. And if you think about it, like the person on the other side selling a house, they may just start with, at first going like, I wonder how much we could get for our house. And they go on Zillow and they research it. And they might contact an agent and ask them for like an estimate. Then they might like, hey, which neighborhoods are we thinking of moving to? And they might check them out and like Google them. And then they may even drive by a few of them. And all that happens over weeks and weeks. And then they may like go see if they could get a mortgage and what mortgage rates are being, what their monthly payment would be. And and then they might go look at an open house, and it might take them 6 months. So if you want to get better real estate leads and have them show up more, nurture those leads for 6 fucking months. Don't ever stop watering them. Send them information like, these are the mortgage rates. This is how to figure out how much your home is worth. This is the best way to sell it. This is how we advertise it. This is what to look for in a property. These are the things to watch out for. This is what a contract looks like. And just like keep valuable stuff in front of them. So my way of saying, like, if they're not buying the $1,000 procedure right away, you're just not doing enough pre-selling. And odds are it's probably a few weeks. Like, we're not talking, like, real estate's an extreme example. There are even more extreme examples, by the way. Like industrial equipment often like has 3, 4, 5 year sales cycles before somebody pulls the trigger, and there's a lot of people who have to decide. But almost always, if you don't stay in front of them during the entire buyer's journey, they just don't buy from you. And this is the thing, is all high-ticket sales of all kinds begin with curiosity, where somebody raises their hand and says, I'm curious, tell me more about that. They very rarely begin, only about 3% of people are ready to throw their credit card at you. You can make a lot of money with that 3%. So I'm not like poo-pooing it and saying like, don't go after the 3% who are ready to buy now. But man, you'll make a lot more money if you just if you also like have a watering system in place to continually nurture those leads. And the best way to nurture leads is so counterintuitive. It's actually so fucking simple, is add value to the process. Help them understand how it works, what they need to look out for. Like I said, like if I was helping somebody buy a house, I'd go answer question number 1. Here's how to figure out how much your home is worth. Then I might say like, hey, these are some of the smoking neighborhoods that kind of like we're really paying attention to that I help people get into. And I might say, this is the process. And I might say, these are the things to watch out for. And I might explain the contract to them. I might explain like how to buy correctly and how to make an offer and what to watch out for and conditions. And this is the mortgage broker who can help you get the best rates. And I know just by staying in front of them and adding value, like I don't know whether those tomatoes will water in 2 days, 2 months, or 2 years, but I know they will, in fact, water at some point, and you'll get a whole bunch. And by the way, using the garden analogy, this always happens. In the beginning, you're watering them, and you're going, I'm not really sure if this is going to work. I've only ever killed plants in my life. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then what ends up happening is 6 to 8 weeks later, the conversation you're having is going, shit, what the fuck are we going to do with all these tomatoes? What do we do? Like, I have to make tomato sauce for my friends and give them away? Who needs tomatoes? Hey, Joe, do you need fucking tomatoes? Because I got 1 billion of them, right? Like, that's the conversation. So, the more high ticket the service, the more nurturing you're going to have to do. If you accept that, you'll close a whole bunch more. And if you think about nurturing as pre-selling, you're pre-selling the thing you're selling, then you'll do so much better at it, and better than most people who would try and go for the home run in one shot, which statistically you're only going to convert 3% of people, and instead focus on like, how can I imagine like you couldn't add more leads and you had to get the 100 leads you got today are the only 100 leads you're going to get ever. Like, the amount of follow-up you would do is insane. That's how I think about it, and I think it would be useful to kind of go with that analogy. So I hope that's helpful. Josh says, through which social media platforms you get the most clients? For us, it's a combination of Facebook and YouTube, but I'll tell you, there is no one-size-fits-all answer, my man, because it depends a lot on where your clients are already. So I used to like get a lot of lawyers off LinkedIn, and that's because a lot of lawyers hang out on LinkedIn. If I was trying to go get e-commerce groups, I would go into Facebook Shopify groups and those kind of places. If I was trying to get like a landscaper who's mostly a real-world kind of person, I would go meet him in real fucking life and not use a social media platform at all, or maybe a direct mail or a phone call or something like that. So it depends on the kind of person you're trying to reach. My favorite, I'll tell you why I like Facebook, because it's the only platform I actually use, and YouTube is my favorite all-time of all the social media platforms, and I'll tell you why. It's the hardest one to get started, but it stays the longest. So when I make a Facebook post, and I've had some Facebook posts over the years that kind of crushed it, but what happens is they're kind of forgotten like 3 hours later, right? As where if you think about a YouTube video, I have YouTube videos from like 7 years ago that clients still call me about. So YouTube is more effort to get off the ground, but it's such a long-term asset. So if your market's on YouTube, like I'm telling you, like of all the social media platforms, it's my favorite, and you don't need any crazy awesome videos. Like, look at what I'm doing. I'm just a dude talking to a camera, answering questions. That's it. And I got a ghetto ass camera, this bad boy right here, and even when I first started, I wasn't even using a good microphone, right? So I would recommend you at least have like half decent microphone, but other than that, like you know, you can just answer questions, go on YouTube, you'll be amazed. People will call you, you'll get business out of it. The only reason people don't is because it's not an immediate gratification. You don't, in fact, the first 90 days you'll question your sanity more than once, but after that, like it just fucking works. Mike says, hey everyone, what are some of your favorite ways to avoid scope creep? I have a client that keeps emailing me questions for insights into other projects they're working on outside of the main project he contracted us for. I'm seeing it as a good op to try and upsell, but would love to hear your approaches on other things to consider here. I have a simple formula for that, my man, which is I give ideas for free and I charge for implementation. So if somebody's like asking about other projects, I would just give them the ideas for free, and then I would say, and if you want my help implementing it, it would be that much extra. That's it. But I don't hold back on ideas ever for people, and people get a lot of value from the ideas, but as you guys know, ideas are only as valuable as your ability to implement them. So it's not actually that valuable in real practice, but people receive a lot of value from the ideas. So I always say, like, say they got another project and they're trying to launch another website, like, what do you think should go on the website? I tell them, here's what I would put here, say here, do that. And if you want my help just like actually writing that and building it for you, it'll be this much extra. That's really it. Or if you don't want the thing at all, I just tell them, like, hey, like, I'll give you my insights on it, but we're just not set up to do that kind of thing. So I'll give you the ideas, but I'm probably not your Huckleberry to actually build that. Helps that my last name is Finn, but you can use the Huckleberry line anyway, even if you're not a Finn. But scope creep is real, and it probably happens to all of us. So don't worry too much. But ideas free, implementation money, and just tell them that. Here's my idea. Here's what I do. Here's what I'd say. And if you need some help building it, you know. And I usually just use the line, by the way, that I need to be able to pay my staff to build that. Like, I'd love to just help you with this for free, but I got my own costs over here. And so that's what it'll cost to get it built. Last question we got. Jeremy, have you ever had to fire a client? Why? Can't let clients berate my team for small mistakes and unrealistic communication expectations. Yes. I think firing clients, by the way, just so you guys know how important this is, this issue. Kevin Nations was talking about a coaching business. And even though he's talking about a coaching business, this applies to agencies, it applies if you're a consultant. It's all kind of very similar and the same. And he said something along the effect of, you know how many motherfuckers it takes to ruin a coaching business? And the answer is one motherfucker, like one negative person, one bad fit. I can tell you that, especially in the early days when we were we weren't picky, we were non-discriminate with the clients we accepted. If I had 20 clients and 3 of them were kind of just like not good fits and bad people, I lost most of my sleep over those 3. You have 17 people who are either satisfied or relatively happy. You think you spend all your time thinking about those people? You spend all your time obsessing about the 3 who aren't happy. And often, the hardest thing to fix, by the way, is people's attitudes. So, like, for me, you mentioned in that case, like, it sounds like they're just being an asshole to your team, and their expectations are like, you know, like often clients expect overnight miracles instead of, like, you know, sound fundamental business systems and processes. And if that's the case, like, to me, like, an automatic fucking deal breaker. You talk mean to my staff, like, gone. And I don't think anybody should ever put up with that. I look at it as like ideal client relationships as friends with money. They're people like you'd hang out with, you talk cool with, you like them. I got a couple of like lawyer clients, like our conversations are the most casual, like cool. You never know they're guys doing like 30 to 100 million in you know lawyer services, and we just like shoot the shit like they're normal dude. Like, dude, where the fuck you been? Where you been traveling to? Saw you were on a plane for this, right? So a lot of times, like, just don't put up with shit for clients. Shut up, Jeremy. So for the most part, like, the biggest reason people keep on bad clients, I could summarize in one word: scarcity. You believe you need their money and you have to put up with their bullshit. Or, sometimes even worse than that, is you think you have to take every client, you don't even know you can fire them, or that you have any choice. But I think there's an evolution you go through as an agency owner where you graduate to realize that you are the selector and not the selected. In the beginning, it feels like, hey, I'm just trying to get any dentist to pay me. I'm just trying to get any lawyer to pay me. I'm just trying to get any plastic surgeon to pay me. And then they do, and it feels like this big privilege, and you like guard those relationships and you try and work really hard. And that's when you feel like you're the selected, and it's like, ooh, it's so nice. But as you graduate, it's more like, and I'll give you an example, like our man Seth Price, who's part of this group. Seth, I'll brag about Seth because Seth is not the kind of guy to brag about himself. But Seth has perhaps like the biggest agency in this whole community, or one of anyways, like certainly top 5. He's got a very, very big agency that like is in multiple industries, like big ass team, and they do like a lot of SEO and a lot of high value SEO. And if you see the way Seth networks in real life, which I have many times because we've gone to a lot of the same conferences and we spoke together and we've hung out and eaten lunch and all that, Seth is always asking, like, you know who runs the SEO for that guy? Can you make an introduction to that specific guy? I know he's a big TV lawyer and you know him and I don't. And it's always about selecting and trying to get in front of the right people. And it's never just like, well, gee golly, I hope any lawyer anywhere would hire me. And so the attitude you want to shift from is this idea of like the chosen to the chooser. And you start choosing clients that are nice to you and your team, that have good attitudes, that spend money, that value what you do. And what you'll find is it's a way easier agency because you'll have better people in it. And the Nick Peterson calls this MKP, which is my kind of people. The more you build your business around MKP, the easier and the longer and the less churn you'll have, because it's like it's your kind of people. You'll build something that's super helpful and valuable to them, and all that good stuff. So hope that's helpful. I've been rambling for an hour. I just want to say appreciate you guys all. As I mentioned in the beginning, for those of you guys who saw my email, I had Ilka got pickpocketed at the store here, and we lost a bunch of bank cards and credit cards and ID and all that kind of stuff. And it's a little bit of a clusterfuck because we bank, two long flights away from where I live. So it's it's not super easy and straightforward. Like, I bank in Canada and live in Mexico, so they're like, oh, just come into your local branch and we'll happily replace them. I still have my passport, so I have some ID, but it's a complex thing that we're sorting through. So I ended up running a special offer, because we don't have any access to money, and I could only use like a certain way of getting paid, which is either Ilka's accounts or our TransferWise, which I can put into. We got a little Mexican account with just a little bit of kind of jump change in it. But you guys were super cool, and so I so appreciate you guys. Like, obviously I ran a super duper killer offer, but at the same time, like, some of you guys were willing to do extra and help out and said like, hey, you've contributed to me all these years, and that, like, it just really means a lot to me. And I love you guys. Like, you're just the fucking coolest. So I just wanted to say big heartfelt thank you for those of you guys, even those of you guys who aren't in a position to do anything. It's a long life. Let's help each other as much as we can. And I don't know, you guys are awesome. It really does mean a lot, and especially to my kids who actually get to eat this week thanks to you guys. So much love, appreciate you guys, and as always, may the force be with you, and have an awesome Monday and an awesome week in general. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video, as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.